Last year's event champion Filipe Toledo there with the GoPro breakdown, and he has just hit the lineup. He's in the red. He'll be up against Jadson and the injury replacement Stuart Kennedy. Should be a fantastic clash as we get WSL's 2016 Championship Tour underway on day 2 of the event window here. We're at Snapper Rocks for the Quiksilver Pro. Beautiful conditions turning on this afternoon's first round, and while we're at the break, Jadson got things started. Ronnie Blakey with Ross Williams. Ross, take us through this first wave for Jadson.
Very interested to see how good old Jaddy does this year in 2016. As you remember, Ronnie, he had a close call last year. Always very passionate, a lot of people's favorite guy on tour. Happy-go-lucky, but you can see, you know, with that close call, I feel like one or two things is going to happen this year. Decent wave there for Jaddy. He's either going to rise to the occasion and kind of step it up, as I feel like he's going to need to do with all this new talent, or, you know, he's at risk of fading away. This guy, on the other hand, set the bar so high last year. You know, everyone is so interested to see, is he going to improve on that? Can he even improve on that performance from last year? Oh. Wow, there's that spring that Filipe has, that advantage he has over every single guy on tour. And this is a guy that we were both kind of psyching on here, Stuart Kennedy. I had a really hard time not putting him on my fantasy team. I'm a big fan. He's always got so much speed and flow.
And to make that model, and actually works well.
And obviously a bit of a slow heat there, but you are so aware of your positioning out in the lineup, especially putting yourself in the sweet spot for that 7. Was that part of the strategy?
You know what? It's pretty hard to have the best strategy out there. You know, it's breaking all over the place, and you have to be super lucky to be, you know, at the right place at the right time. And that wave came out of nowhere, you know, and I was pretty lucky to be there because Adam just caught the first one, and obviously this one came after that, so I was lucky, yeah.
Well, Michelle, straight to round 3. We can't wait to see that. Back to you, Ronnie.
Thank you, Rosie. Michelle Perez now on the Kelly Slater surf team, and it's working out pretty well for him. He's through to round 3. That's what the victors get out of this first round. If you get the victory, straight through to round 3 as we see Jadson, a bit of a backhand float gone wrong. But meanwhile, Filipe Toledo is starting to ramp things up out here, looking really alive in this first event. Of course, had an amazing run in this contest last year, Ross. A number of just mind-blowing heat score totals, but his only real slip-up in that event came in the first round, and at the moment, he looks set on rectifying that issue.
He really does. He doesn't look like he's willing to be patient. He likes to catch a lot of waves. There's a handful of guys, that's their comfort zone, that's the way they compete. Filipe is definitely one of those guys. He doesn't want to go outside there and wait for a bomb, and that's the cool thing about surfing on the Gold Coast. You don't need to do that. You know, it's as Michelle Perez just said, you need a little bit of fortune on your side, and sometimes those low road, those wide ones come at you, and you're in the right place at the right time.
Filipe Toledo, he's surfing, won a lot of fans last year, obviously, as he takes off once again, driving into this first section. It's the first round. Are we really ready for this? He steps on the rail, winds through a nice roundhouse cutback, and again digs in as he makes his way through to the inside, and he'll kick out there. But Filipe won a lot of fans with his surfing last year, Ross, but his gracious interview post-world title loss, he fell out of contention at Pipe. He was so cool. He had a big smile on his face, looked like he was just happy with the finish and to be in contention at the end of the year, and understands that he's going to be challenging for a long time.
Well, I mean, if you can bust a little pop air like that, you have every reason in the world to have a chip on your shoulder. But Filipe doesn't have that, does he? He is just humble pie. Another thing that could have chafed him so many times last year is all those people out there, including us, talking about how he can't, you know, he's going to have a really hard time getting it done in Tahiti, Fiji, and Hawaii, and he did have a hard time. But look how much fun this looks. I mean, can you imagine going out there and doing this on a wave, Ronnie? That is ridiculous. That is so much height and speed.
Can't imagine it at all. But Filipe makes it look so easy. And you know what? We're going to attack him again this year when we get to those heavy wave locations, because that's the area that he can really evolve his game and elevate his performance. But at the moment, he is at Snapper Rocks, where he just dominates, and he's kicking off this heat in fine form. But here goes Jadson. He's picked off a clean little runner through to the inside. This thing's going to run out of gas, it looks like. as he makes his way through to a section of rock that Fred Patashia made so famous last year when he just drove his equipment straight into the barnacles.
Well, rumor is Freddie, he might be coming to the Gold Coast for a little vacation with his family. I hope that's true, because it'd be rad to have Freddie just stand on that rock for a couple hours and flex. Maybe sign some autographs on it.
It's been a pretty relaxed off-season for most of us. You had a pretty hectic time, obviously, with some big wave events over there in Hawaii, Ross, the Eddie Ran. But what have the surfers been up to in the off-season? How have they been getting prepared? Filipe Toledo, you know, he's a great person to focus on.
Yeah. You know,
got Stuart's measure, but Stuart's got a pretty flashy attack and has some of those air moves himself. So let's see if he can pull it out against one of the title contenders in 2016.
Yeah, Stuart Kennedy's strong. He's got some power, but I think it's maybe his very last maneuver here. This wave looks like it's finished, and watch, it just has a little reform, bang, and that's Jadson Andre's strength right there. You know, a lot of guys go for those big, clean wraps or power moves. For Jadson Andre, what allows him to go big on scores is that vertical quick snap.
Jadson's going to be celebrating his 26th birthday on the 13th, just a couple of days away.
You telling me Jadson's only 26?
Only 26.
That's radical.
Yeah, amazing. He was such a grommet when he actually joined the championship tour back in 2010 and got a rare win for a rookie that year over in Brazil. He's up again at the moment. Stuart Kennedy chasing him down the line here. So Jadson just a little behind the section, but Stuart, this wave has a good pace to it. He unleashes that tail. And he is just working this wave over, looking for some steeper wall. And he finds it here on the inside. So nothing explosive at the moment, but he has let go of some decent turns. A lot of moves performed on that wave, but I think they might just hold him back on the scale a little bit because they really want to see those big major turns. And Felipe's already thrown down a couple of monsters. You'd think, and saving a little bit of room to move, because certainly some talent out there in this lineup at the moment.
The waves look like they're getting better too. That tide dropping out, that bank is starting to expose itself. The waves are more refined, more predictable, less deep spots. It looked a little funky those first two heats, so that's encouraging. The waves getting better.
We're loving the opportunity to have Pete Durbidge on the commentary team for the Quiksilver and Roxy Pro. We're going to be definitely counting on his local expertise throughout the event. He was saying that this is some of the best surf we've seen since Cyclone Winston just lit this place up a couple of weeks back. But here is Jadson, a couple of huge turns on this wave, that vertical approach you were talking about earlier, Ross. He likes the feel of that ride.
So much speed. That's the cool thing. You know, Jadson Andre is known for doing really nice frontside airs. He's on his backhand out here, so he's going to have to really rely on that, pretty much that one move. And it is vertical. It is pretty exciting. It's scoreable, but what makes it great and what allows him to use that time and time again and the judges not to get bored is that speed.
Jadson's probably had a couple of surfs before the sun came up this morning. He's generally the first guy to an event site. But we're going to have a look at Felipe's last ride. This was in that last exchange. We saw Stu Kennedy and Jadson. This is what happened on the outside.
Yeah, this is the wave I kind of had a peek over my shoulder and had a look at Filipe. He likes to mix it up. So there's some rail work, a couple of nice carves, and then right on tap, he does those maneuvers in his sleep. Nice air reverse out into the flats. So that's what everyone loves about Filipe. He's not afraid to go at it 100%. He's anything but conservative. And this is by far Jadson's best wave. Again, two really crisp maneuvers for him, and he's going to join the party. It's going to be cool to see who kind of exposes himself. Last year, obviously, Italo stole the show, but you know, it's a really solid rookie season this year.
Wade Carmichael, he won the trials, and he'll be coming up against Mick Fanning and Matt Banting a little later on, who just set this place on fire. Basically from the second round onward, putting together the most solid heat score total of the event in the final of 19.6, and just reflecting on Felipe's year, Ross.
That extra weight is going to do wonders for him. He's always going to have that beautiful foundation in the air, but that extra weight will help with the carbs.
Well, here we go. Jadson Andre trying to get himself into the lead. He needs a 7.5. And it's going to have to be a pretty decent 7.5 because you think back to what Filipe has done in this heat, 6.53, 7.83. They were pretty insane rides.
Yeah.
So it's going to need to be a good 7.5 as we see Filipe now trying to dispose of one of his lower scores. He's got speed. There's a section coming his way. Here he goes. An awkward aerial floater, if that's even possible. And he goes down.
You know, he's so prime time. He loves to max out, do the craziest maneuver possible, and that's what he wanted to do. But you're right, that was a tricky transition there. It was moving down the line. Now watch, look how long the lip line is. As he does this air, he kind of sees that he has so much ground to cover that he was indecisive, and because of that, he probably was thinking right before he went to the air, maybe I should have floated that section and then saved the best for last. So it's tricky. You really have to kind of just save a little bit and maybe wait for that last section before you go big.
He's starting to make happen around the world at different locations. And the 2014 world champion looked unbeatable towards the back half of last season, and a lot of people have him as the front runner for the world title this year. We'll see how he performs in the first round here at the Quiksilver Pro in just a moment. But right now we're seeing Stuart Kennedy. Well, he was out there in third priority, willing to take a chance on that ride. Chasing a 7.5, Stuart Kennedy is after a 7.86. Here's Filipe's wave. Strider Wasilewski out in the channel. How did this one look for you, Strider? We'll get to Strider in a moment. Of course, he's still trying to regather himself after calling the action from the eddy, wearing a couple of big set waves on the head. Actually had some concussion, but he'll be relieved that there'll be none of those big freak closeout base sets here on the Gold Coast. Getting down toward the 5-minute mark now, and some movement just there behind the rock. Filipe's going to take a chance on this one. Can turn a horrible wave into an excellent score. He's going to attempt to do it here, is he not? Drives up over the foam, finds the open face, and just goes to that rail, just all style, as he looks for a solid finish. Drifts that tail, climbs up vertically once again, and still not done with this one. Kicks out now, and a well-constructed ride on what was just a foamy, pretty ugly insider.
That was cool. I loved seeing how much energy and focus he put into that wave. You know, he could have got complacent thinking I'm in the lead, but he didn't show that at all. So he's really trying to get rid of that 6.5.
So just over 4 minutes to go now. And Filipe surfing very well, but at this stage of the game has left the door just slightly ajar for Stuart Kennedy or Jadson Andre to walk on through. Let's have a look at the replay here.
First of all, I'm kind of liking the airbrush. You like that airbrush? I like the black and green. I think it's cool looking. But again, very clever here from Filipe. See how this wave grew. So he saw that. He looked down the line when he took off. Even though that wave was pretty crummy on the outside, he knew there was going to be a lot of opportunity on that thing if he just stayed with it.
Obviously taken to the air, throwing the tail. But I really liked, you know, in comparison to the last heat with Michel Perez, I still think the power surfing of Michel looks stronger out here right now. I don't know, you guys have any opinions on who's doing looking the best out here?
I think Michel looks very strong. Has obviously been putting a lot of hard work into his warm-up sessions.
We're here at Snapper Rocks. It's head high. If someone's going to do a big, crazy pop, big air, you know what I mean, which Filipe does, I think that's the name of the game out here.
Well, here we go. This is Stuart Kennedy. Now he's got an opportunity to get himself into the lead. He needs a 7.86, surfing with a lot of speed. And another competitor loving the opportunity to work with Kelly Slater and Firewire on some clean designs, but he just bogs rail on that last turn. Just under 2 minutes to go now. Coming into the new season.
And on that note, pretty shocking that Julian got off to a cold start. You know, he's one of those guys that's always in that conversation with the world title.
Certainly didn't look as sharp as Filipe here in his first effort on the Gold Coast, as we see Jadson just fighting now to get himself into the lead. Needs a 7.5 out of this ride. Staying tight with the pocket, trying to make these sections as steep as possible to to get those critical moves done and score big with the judges. That way he's going to die on the inside. Just on 10 seconds to go as Filipe finishes off this little runner and finishes it off with style. This heat coming to a close, and Filipe Toledo just looking, well, near unstoppable. He didn't put it out of reach for Jadson and Stuart, but it was a great performance.
In my opinion, that's Filipe at 70% right there.